Some cases make headlines for a moment. Others stay in the public memory for years. This is HerCrime. Her name was Pamela Smart. She was 22 years old. She was a school employee. And she convinced a 15-year-old boy that the only way they could be together was if her husband was no longer alive. From the outside, Pamela and Greg Smart looked like a typical young couple building a life together. She had graduated from Florida State University with a degree in communications. He was 24 years old. They had been married less than a year. They lived in Derry, New Hampshire. To everyone around them, they were unremarkable. That was about to change. In the fall of 1989, Pamela took a position as a media coordinator at Winnacunnet High School in Hampton, New Hampshire. She was 22 years old and worked with students on a school drug awareness program called Project Self-Esteem. That is where she met William Flynn. He was 15 years old and a sophomore. She was the adult in the room. She was supposed to be the responsible one. By early 1990, Pamela Smart and Billy Flynn were involved in a relationship that the law could only describe one way. She was the adult. He was a child in her care. Flynn later testified that Smart told him she needed her husband gone because she feared losing everything in a divorce. She threatened to end the relationship if he did not go through with it. He was 15 years old and completely under her control. Smart did not act alone. Flynn enlisted 3 of his teenage friends. The plan was to make the death of Greg Smart look like a disrupted burglary. On the evening of May 1st, 1990, Pamela made sure she had an alibi. She attended a meeting at work. While she was gone, the boys waited at the condominium. When Greg Smart arrived home that evening, he was ambushed in the hallway of his own condominium. According to prosecutors, he was forced to his knees and begged for his life. Flynn fired a single shot to his head. The teenagers staged the scene to look like a break-in and left. When Pamela arrived home, she called the police and told them she had come home to find her husband gone and the house ransacked. Investigators were suspicious from the start. The scene did not add up. Greg Smart had not been robbed in the way a typical burglary would suggest. Attention began to shift toward Pamela. A teenage intern named Cecilia Pierce, who worked with Pamela and knew about the plot, became the prosecution's most important witness. Pierce agreed to secretly record conversations with Pamela. In one recording, Smart could be heard threatening Pierce, saying that if she told the truth, it would send her to prison for the rest of her life. On August 1st, 1990, Pamela Smart was approached by a detective in her school parking lot. He told her he had good news and bad news. The good news was that her husband's case had been solved. The bad news was that she was under arrest for first-degree murder. She was handcuffed in the parking lot of the school where she worked. She was 22 years old. The trial of Pamela Smart became one of the most watched legal proceedings in American history. It was among the first trials in the United States to allow television cameras inside the courtroom. Flynn and his 3 accomplices had already accepted plea deals and agreed to testify against her in exchange for reduced sentences. Flynn took the stand and described in detail everything that had happened and everything she had told him to do. He was 17 years old when he testified. On March 22, 1991, after a 14-day trial, Pamela Smart was found guilty on all 3 counts: accomplice to first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, witness tampering. She was sentenced that same day to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The boys who carried out the act served shorter sentences and were all eventually released. The woman who orchestrated everything from the beginning has never left prison. Pamela Smart has now been incarcerated for more than 34 years. She has earned 2 master's degrees behind bars. She has been ordained as a minister. She has tutored fellow inmates. Every request for a sentence reduction or pardon hearing has been denied. In 2024, for the first time, she publicly accepted responsibility for her husband's death. Gregory Smart's family noted that in her entire statement she never once said his name. Greg Smart was 24 years old. He came home one evening and never left. The teenagers who carried out what they were told have all walked free. The woman who put the plan in motion and used a child to execute it remains behind bars. She called it love. The jury called it conspiracy. The law called it what it was. Some people spend their entire lives trying to rewrite the story. The story does not change. Because sometimes the truth is not just disturbing. It is something no one saw coming. This is her crime.